Hey guys, it's me again. It's your boy, Edmund Grant, aka Joe Dirt. Now I've been kind of struggling on what to do for my second video. There's a few ideas tossed out there. I wanted to do an I hate video, which is probably going to be more funny than anything. I've also wanted to do my Bleed Blue document that I wrote about 2 years ago now. It touches on how basketball and Haza culture are intertwined. But I think today I want to talk about why I choose to live kid-free. Before I get into it though, I just want to say that I'm not against kids. I love kids. I have nieces and nephews. I've worked in the culture camp. I've coached basketball for the junior boys team in the village. It's just that I choose not to have a kid because, well, let's get into it. Now, as you all know, that having a kid is a huge responsibility, but I also feel like it's something that's kind of pressured upon us when we graduate from high school and get to the age of 20 plus years or whatever. The older you get, the more pressure there is to have kids, I feel. And I don't know, I'm here to tell you that you don't have to give in to that pressure, right? I hear it from everyone, from my aunties, my grandma, my mother, and my girlfriend's parents as well, is when are you going to have kids? It's never, are you going to decide whether to have kids or not? So one big thing about having kids is that it's a lifetime commitment. And I don't mean just from when you give birth to when the kid graduates and moves on with his or her life. Like, even if you live long enough to see your great grandchildren, that kid is still going to be your kid. And what choices they make, it affects you as well, whether that's good or bad. I don't want to make it sound like I'm complaining too much either, because I do like to stay as positive as possible, but at the same time I like to look at things from a realistic perspective. One major key factor as well is the financial responsibility, and they say you can prepare all you want for this, but you're never going to be ready. I myself, living with my girlfriend, we both, we do pretty well for ourselves, but at the same time we feel like, we're just barely getting by with what we have. So yeah, kids can be very expensive, everything from diapers to food to paying for college later on in the years. I'm lucky I'm First Nations, but who knows how long that's going to stick around for. I don't know. Who knows 20 years from now, who knows, maybe they will be able to get school funding, maybe we won't. I don't know. You know what else too is that it's a scary world that we live in. And I don't mean just, walking down the street at nighttime thinking that you're going to get jumped by a group of people or whatever. That's not the kind of scary I'm talking about. I'm talking about us as a species, humans. We face the threat of global warming, World War III, like when's it going to happen? Something as silly as artificial intelligence, you never know. I follow a lot of videos on YouTube, and that's one thing that's constantly popping up in my feed is the rise of artificial intelligence, the whole Terminator thing. When's that going to happen, right? Plus, have you ever had a nap whenever you wanted to? Those are pretty awesome too. Overconsumption is another huge one as well. We live in a world full of greed. You see the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. It's a very competitive world, and the population's on the rise like crazy. Something like over, what was it, like 100 years ago, we had like 1 billion less people than we do now, or something crazy like that. I'm not going to look up the statistics or whatever, but you know what I'm talking about. Like, everyone's greedy. Who isn't? I'm greedy. Being generous doesn't pay the bills. I'm sorry. It's just the way it goes. Housing prices is another huge one for me as well. I heard from a very reliable source saying that back in mid-80s they bought a house out in Cable Car for around $120,000. Now, if you were to spend that money these days, you wouldn't be able to afford the duplex that I live in. And the house that they sold, was it like 5 years ago, sold for about $500,000. And yeah, I don't even want to begin to imagine what it's going to be like 20 years from now if I decide to have a kid now and watch her try to buy a house in the future. Kids can also be very mentally exhausting, as much as they are lovable, of course. Who doesn't love kids? I love kids, like I said. I've worked with youth all the time, but they can also be very mentally exhausting. I see a lot of memes and jokes posted about how stressful it is to be a parent, but they also say there's always that little bit of truth hidden in that joke, and it's just not something I want to put myself through, because I struggle to keep my head above water most days. So to throw a kid in the mix, it's just going to make things even more complicated. So all that being said, those are the main reasons why I decide not to have a kid. I like to think of myself as a very transparent person. I can be persuaded. I like to admit when I'm wrong sometimes, not all the time. But I like to look at things from all angles, and who knows how I'm going to feel tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, 5 years from now. Maybe I'll change my mind, who knows. But up until this point in my life is why I chose not to have kids. So that's it for my video, guys. Thanks for taking the time to check it out. If you made it this far, you might as well hit that like button as well. Feel free to give me ideas for what I should do for my next video. I'd like to give skits a chance as well, you know, make some funny content or whatever, do some acting, I guess. That would be pretty cool, I think. Any discussion topics, yeah, hit me up with ideas. Peace.